Hello everybody, welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Tone and I'd like to thank you for joining me for part 3 of this BLM or Black Lives Matter video series. I'm going to try and finish it off with this one. Apologies for how the other one just cut off, but editing is still being a bit funny, so I've decided to do it in this way. Now, at the end of the last video, I was talking about it being a very tragic thing to dismantle a system that indeed is the best in the world in terms of supporting everybody, in terms of keeping law and order. It would be a great detriment to everybody involved, and indeed the world, if our system was to be broken down and removed and replaced with what? I mean, that's the next question. And the next thing I wanted to talk about, though, was, and we didn't hang around for this part of the protest or at the end of the protest, but they said they were going to go and have some elders perform a ceremony to heal the land. And the thing that really came to me during that was, if all of this process was indeed to heal the land, and of course therefore also you would assume to heal relationships and to move forward together, then forgiveness would play a much stronger role than warring and protesting and making a big noise about things without being specific about them. Just throwing numbers out there, that's not proving systemic anything. So, and of course we can't forgive the current people for something that other people did, because I'm not guilty of oppressing people, if anyone wants to put it that way. I'm not guilty of oppressing anyone. So just wanted to, talk about that. I can't apologize on behalf of myself for something that ancestors of mine did. I can say that it was a bad thing and I'm sorry that it happened, and I most certainly am sorry that any results that came from that are still effective now, and I can work together with those that were affected in some way, but I can't solve the problem by saying sorry. And it was interesting that, well, we were being told that our Prime Minister needed to say sorry. So effectively, sorry for it happening is not the same as sorry I did it. And that's an important distinction to make. Now, if we were going to go about healing the land, if we were all about healing the land and healing relationships and everything like that, we'd be forgiving what happened. We would not be pushing against something that doesn't exist anymore and making a big deal out of it. We would be moving forward together, because I think, as I said before, in part 2, the majority of people get it, and they don't have any animosity to anybody. We all just want to get through this, get over this, and move together. Now, I want to talk about something that I've seen in a number of videos to do with all of this stuff. And it's such a shame. But I want to talk about it just to clear it up, because I think it's important to get this right. In a number of videos that I've watched, African American people, or indeed other dark skinned people from other places in the world, speak of being good citizens and everything, as they should be, and as I'm sure they are, just like everyone should be. But they say that when they walk past some white people, Caucasian people, they notice that maybe some of those Caucasian people, especially the women, sort of recoil a little bit, or they clutch their bag a little bit tighter, or they, they react in a way that makes the African American person feel subconscious, or what did you do that because I walked past you kind of reaction. And both, I'm going to speak to this, both are understandable. If the African American person has never done anything to anybody and is a lovely soul and law-abiding citizen and everything, then of course I can understand that they would feel hurt by that. But then that Caucasian lady or that Caucasian person, they may have had a number of instances where they had run-ins with a dark-skinned person who committed a crime or put them under duress, and they're just wary. Now, both, that's wrong, of course, because not every black person is going to be this, and not every white person is going to react in that way. But what we hear far too much is our take on a reaction of someone without realizing that there's a reason. And it's not just going to be prejudice all the time. Actually, the majority of time is probably not prejudice. It's probably just a reaction to something that has really happened to them also. Now, I'm sorry if anyone feels offended, or if someone feels hurt by the reactions of other people, but we need to understand that the reaction of them is most likely because, especially if it's a reaction like that, it's most likely because they've had someone do something to them that they're not soon going to forget, and obviously haven't yet. So to suggest that that is an example of systemic prejudice, that's a far reach. That's actually reaching for something that isn't there. That's not a systemic prejudice at all. That is simply just a reaction based on something that they've had happen to them. So in some other videos, there was talk about if anyone believes that systemic racism or systemic prejudice is not a real thing, then they're delusional. I found that interesting because what I would say, and what I've found evidence of, is that it is a delusion actually to suggest that anything of this is actually systemic. It's not systemic. We've got cases where it's clear that, there is prejudice. But the majority, by far the majority, which therefore is covered by systemic, because systemic means, the majority of, is not a prejudiced system at all. And that's important to understand. So the delusion actually lies in following the narrative that's portrayed by mass media and the wider Black Lives Matter movement, that's where the delusion is. And look, if speaking this truth is offensive in any way, I'll refer you back to my being offended video. Watch that, and hopefully that can help you to, or help motivate you to look into these things a little bit deeper rather than just resting back on your own biases. Be careful not to be biased by these things, because we don't have a white supremacy problem. We don't have a prejudice problem, at least at the systemic level. We don't. We've come far and beyond that. We're now well into inclusive territory. So I just wanted to cover that. This business of white against black, it's got to stop. And I encourage anyone who doesn't already have friends from the other side, because apparently there's sides, make some friends with some people from a different culture, from a different skin color. Not that that matters, but just prove it to yourself that systemic prejudice doesn't exist. Prove to yourself that indeed we are all human beings. We all should be working together. Indeed, all lives matter. You can't have white lives mattering without black lives mattering, and you can't have black lives mattering without white lives mattering. Mind you, I have to say this, I haven't seen any sort of movement anywhere where people from Asia rise up and say, Asian lives matter. Like, you know, it's one thing to see some cases where things went wrong and then jump to a conclusion to say that that equals a systemic problem. That's a huge leap. And it's one that many people are willing to follow, because I guess a lot of people want to stand for something, but they don't want to think for themselves, and come up with their own critical thinking, you know, come up with their own understanding. They're more happy to just go, oh, that's a good cause, let's follow that, and we just go to the nth degree to do it. I finish, I think, with an analogy. And a large number of the people at any rally, I'm not going to single out the BLM rally this time, I'm going to say any rally. It's a majority thing that occurs. And the analogy goes like this. Originally, I'm a sheep farmer, or I have had sheep on my farm. And when you are moving sheep from any different place to, from one paddock to another paddock, or you're trying to take them down the road and there's different ways that they can possibly go. If you can get one or two to go the way that you want them to, you've controlled the rest of them. The rest will go the way that you want them to. So let's say that the gate is the truth. If you can get, or indeed it can be a lie, but if you manage to get one or two of them to see the truth, then it can be a wave that just happens. A whole bunch of the rest go in the right direction towards the truth. And it doesn't actually necessarily mean that they understood what is true. The same is true if you're trying to tell a lie and you manage to get a couple of key individuals to follow the lie, you're gonna get sheeple following the lie. It's the same kind of dynamic. It really is. So my prayer, like what I really hope for, is that you watching this video, you're not a sheeple. You know, you're not one of the sheeple. That you are a person who thinks for yourself and understands that things of the past cannot be used to judge the now. We can certainly look back and go, that was a bad idea, let's not do that. But we can't judge then based on what we know now in terms of the people and the way that they had their system back then, because the system now is not the system then. I'd be horrified if the things that apparently happened then were happening now. I'm horrified enough to know the details of what happened then. I'm sorry for that, but we can't go back and fix that. So living in the past in that case is not going to do anyone any favours, especially those who have ancestors that were on the brunt, you know, were getting the bad end of that. We need to be understanding and caring of that emotion that has carried over, but we don't allow emotion to dictate our decisions, or we're going to go down a very, very dark path, a very, very ill-informed path that's not going to bring the results that we ultimately want. We have to go and look at things critically and understand them for what they are. And at the end of the day, actually show care for one another rather than have this battle. It's not a battlefield. We're all in this together. They keep talking about that on the news and everything about this current virus thing. But we're all in this country together too. We'll all succeed. But we've got to understand that when someone from any ethnic group does something wrong, they need to be punished and dealt with accordingly. And we can't measure the number of any individual. We can't say that, okay, this number of people have been incarcerated and therefore that equals a systemic racism. We can't do that. We could say that that actually indicates that there's a problem at the ethnic level, and we need to give support as much as possible, not just throw money at it, but give support as much as possible, to help that number be lower. But we can't be looked at as racist or prejudiced, and if indeed we are pointing our finger at a problem that does exist. I think that's really all I've got to share with this. As I finished my videos more recently, care for each other, take care of each other, take care of yourself, and that includes everybody. It doesn't matter what we're looking like on the outside. What we do is the thing that really matters. Our attitude is the thing that matters. We need to be fostering a positive attitude. That equals the 100% that we're looking for. So, as I've already said, take care of each other, take care of yourself. And if you thought that this video, or indeed these 3 videos, were indeed helpful, I'd appreciate it that you like the video and definitely share it with those that may have attended the march, and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that too. Thank you to all that already have subscribed. I appreciate your support. And I think we'll leave it there. Right now, actually, I'm in the middle of a self-imposed house arrest lockdown. Today is currently day 13. Go and check out my playlist as well, and follow me there on how that's all been going. If you're interested in knowing my thoughts on that whole thing. And look, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your support, and until next time, bye for now.